Jax Mercer was not having a good day. One minute he was fixing a comms relay near asteroid field Gamma 9, and the next, boom, his ship was spinning, alarms blaring, and bright purple beams were cutting across space like angry lasers at a disco. He tried to run, he really did. But you can't outrun a Valkyrie warship. The next thing he knew, he was being dragged down a silver hallway by two 8-foot-tall alien guards in black armor. Their grip was like iron, their eyes cold. But Jax wasn't the type to go down quietly. He smiled even as his ribs ached. So, where we going? Dinner? I didn't dress up, but I clean up nice. The guards didn't answer. But the one walking ahead of them turned slightly, and Jax's words died in his throat. She was tall, taller than the guards. Her armor was dark purple with gold patterns that shimmered when she moved. Her skin was violet gray and her face sharp like it had been carved with a blade. But her eyes were fire, strong, focused, beautiful. Jax blinked, then grinned. Wow, you must be the boss. She stopped, turned, looked down at him. Commander Urela of the Valkyrie Strike Legion, she said. Her voice was deep, cold, like ice cracking. Speak again, human, and I'll rip out your tongue. Jax gave a soft laugh. Then I better make it count. He leaned in a little, just enough to be annoying. Nice butt, by the way. For a full second, nothing happened. The guard stiffened. Urela's eyes widened just a bit. Her jaw clenched, and then, slap. Jax saw stars. Real stars. His head hit the side wall and he slumped, dazed. Worth it, he mumbled with a crooked smile before blacking out. When he woke up, he was in a small, dim room. Metal walls, one bed, no windows, a buzzing light above. Great. A cell. His jaw still ached. His cheek was red, but he was alive. He sat up slowly and looked around. Well, Jax, he said to himself, you flirted with a space commander and survived. That's gotta count for something. Later, a hatch hissed open. Urela entered, alone. Jax stood up, rubbing his face. You again? I was hoping for someone prettier. Oh, wait, there you are. She stared at him, unreadable. Then, without a word, she placed a tray of food on the small metal table and turned to leave. But before the door shut, she paused. Don't say things like that again, she said without looking back. Valkyrie don't blush. Then she left. Jax blinked. Did she just say blush? He sat down, staring at the food. It wasn't much, some kind of thick soup and a square chunk of purple bread, but it smelled okay. He took a bite and smiled. Definitely better than fleet rations. The next day she came again. Same tray, same silence. But this time Jax stood at the door when it opened. You didn't have to feed me yourself, he said. She didn't answer. So, that slap still hurts, but it was impressive. Still no answer. He leaned on the wall. You always feed your prisoners like this, or am I special? She stepped closer. Very close. You are not special, you are lucky. Jax shrugged. People say that a lot about me. She turned to leave. Again, but this time she looked back, and her cheeks, yes, definitely, had a slight violet tint. Jax grinned. Caught you. The door closed in his face. Later that night, he sat on the floor staring at the ceiling. Either I'm going to die here, or flirt my way out of a warship. He laughed softly to himself. Either way, I'm not bored. The walls of the Valkyrie warship never changed. Cold, gray, silent. But for Jax Mercer, something had changed. It had been 3 days since he called the commander's butt nice. 3 days since he got slapped so hard he nearly spun into another dimension. And yet, she kept coming back. Commander Urela. Every day at the same hour, the hatch hissed open and she walked in with a food tray. She never said much, just placed the meal on the table and left. But Jax noticed small things. The soup was warmer now. The bread had a hint of spice. Once he swore the tray had an extra fruit cube. He was a prisoner, yes. But something in her eyes said, He wasn't just that. On the fourth day, he decided to test the waters again. When the door opened, he stood up and gave a short bow. "Your high slapperness. Back again." She didn't react. Instead, she stared at him for a long moment. Then, she sighed. "Do all human males speak so much nonsense?" "Only the handsome ones." Urela rolled her eyes, but her lips twitched, like they wanted to smile and didn't know how. Jax sat on the bed and tilted his head. "Can I ask something?" Urela crossed her arms. "Ask. It does not mean I will answer. Why haven't you handed me to your science crew, or questioned me, or spaced me?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned to the wall, almost like she was avoiding his eyes. Then she said softly, "Because I hate how my people treat prisoners." That surprised him. A lot. She looked over her shoulder, eyes softer. "Now, I've seen what they do to the weak, to the different. I refuse to become like them. So I took you as my own prisoner, my responsibility." Jax gave a slow nod. "Not exactly romantic, but I'll take it." She blinked. "You're joking again. Always helps with fear." They stood in silence for a while. The engine hum filled the room. Finally, she turned to leave. But before she did, she said something that didn't sound like a threat. "I don't think you're afraid, Jax Mercer. I think you're lonely." That night, Jax didn't sleep much. Not because the bed was hard or the room was cold, but because someone who could crush him with one hand had seen right through his heart. The next day when she returned, she didn't bring food. She brought a chair. She set it across from his bed and sat down. "Talk." Jax blinked. "About what?" "Earth. Humans. Why your eyes always move. Like you're scanning escape routes." "Maybe because I'm planning one." She raised a brow. "Then why haven't you tried?" Jax looked down. "Because I don't want to escape you." That made her stand. Her face turned hard again, but it was too late. He had seen her soften. She walked to the door and stopped. "I am a Valkyrie commander." "We don't soften." "Then why are your eyes wet?" She didn't reply. The door closed, but this time, it didn't lock. The door didn't lock that night. Jax noticed immediately, but didn't move. Something had changed. Not in the ship. In her. He sat on the floor for hours, staring at the thin metal walls, listening to every hum and shift of the great Valkyrie ship. Then, finally, the door opened again. But not for food, not for orders, just her, Urela. No armor, just a dark, smooth bodysuit. She looked smaller without the heavy plating. Less like a war machine, more like a woman. "Why are you still here?" she asked quietly. "Because I wanted to see if you'd come back." She stared at him. "You, humans, so reckless, so loud, so charming, so foolish." She walked in and sat down, slow and careful. Her shoulders looked heavy. Her eyes, tired. Jax waited. No jokes this time. Finally, she spoke. "I was 6 when I killed my first opponent." Jax blinked. 6? She nodded. "Training combat. Valkyrie tradition. No rules. Only survival. They threw us into the pit and said, 'The weak will shame us.' I didn't want to fight. But I did, because if I didn't, I would be left to die." She looked at her own hands, as if seeing blood still on them. "When I won, the elders called me strong, but the others whispered, 'Too kind, too soft.' Kindness was weakness. Emotion was failure. They teach us to hide everything. So I did." Jax didn't speak. He couldn't. What words could answer that kind of childhood? But she wasn't done. "Later, they made me commander. I followed orders. Killed, conquered, never asked why. But when we found your ship, and I saw your face, your stupid smile, Your fearless mouth. Something cracked inside me. She stood, pacing now. You made a joke, and I felt something I hadn't felt since I was a girl. Embarrassment. Shame. Warmth. Jack stood up too. So, you hit me. Yes. And blushed. She didn't answer, but the silence said yes. Jack smiled. Well, for what it's worth, I didn't mind the slap. I minded more when you left. Urella turned, surprised. You are not afraid of me? You scare me more when you're quiet than when you hold a plasma rifle. Then her eyes hardened again. They are planning to attack a human colony. Jax froze. What? My people. Tomorrow. I heard it from the War Council. They said your kind are spreading too fast. They want to send a message. Jax stepped back, heart pounding. You have to stop them. I can't, she said, but you're the commander. Not anymore, she whispered. I broke the rules. I let a prisoner live. I let him talk. I let him see me. Jax walked up to her very close. Then let's break more rules. She looked up, eyes like fire, but this time, they didn't burn. What are you saying? I'm saying we stop the attack. You're a prisoner. And you're a woman who's tired of pretending to be cold. So what do you say? Let's fight back. The ship lights flickered. Far away, engines roared to life. Time was running out. But for the first time, they weren't just prisoner and guard, they were something else. The warship was quiet, too quiet. Something was building beneath the silence, like thunder far away, something dangerous. But inside Cell Block C, two minds were racing louder than any engine. Jax Mercer paced in a slow circle. His fingers traced every panel of the wall, looking, measuring. Urella sat across the room, arms crossed, still and calm, but her eyes never left him. This plan of yours, she said slowly, it will fail. Maybe, Jax replied, but it will fail with style. She rolled her eyes. Humans, always joking before death. Well, we like to laugh at what we can't control. He stopped pacing. Right now, I can't stop the attack one unless you help. Urella stood. Her boots echoed on the floor. I am no longer commander. I have no codes, no orders. Just shame. Shame. Jax tilted his head. You saved me. You chose mercy, I call that courage. She looked away, but her shoulders loosened. Fine. One chance. Yes! Jax punched the air. So, do you know how to break into your ship's weapons bay? She blinked, then smiled. A real one. I designed it. That night they moved. Urella gave Jax a stolen uniform, still too big, sleeves hanging. But it got him through the scanners. She walked beside him, eyes forward, body tense, speaking fast and low. Don't speak, don't smile. Walk like a soldier. No smiling? That's torture. They entered the weapons control room. Red lights pulsed softly across rows of consoles. A guard nodded at Urella. You're not on shift. New orders, she replied sharply. From who? Jack stepped forward. From me. He pressed a stolen stunner against the guard's side and fired. Zap. The guard dropped. Jax caught him before he hit the floor. Okay, he whispered. We're doing this. They worked fast. Urella tapped commands into the console. Jax watched the screen. Attack coordinates, Earth Colony, 0031. Can we reroute the strike? He asked. Not without alerting. The bridge. But we can lock the targeting system. She pressed a final key. Locked. Suddenly, alarm blare. A red siren spun above them. Jax cursed. They know. Urella grabbed a plasma spear from the wall. Run! What about you? I'll cover you, go now. Jax hesitated. Everything inside him said don't leave. Her, so he didn't. He grabbed another weapon and stood beside her. You're not doing this alone. Urella looked at him. Shocked. Moved. You're a fool. Maybe. But I'm your fool. The door blasted open. 2 Valkyrie soldiers charged in. Urella moved like lightning, spear spinning, slashing. Jax ducked, rolled, hit one with a shock baton. One soldier fell. The other hesitated. Commander Urella? The soldier gasped. You fight for him. I fight for my choice, she growled. And for what's right. More footsteps echoed outside. They were out of time. Urella dragged Jax toward a hidden panel. Cargo chute, fast. Go now. He paused, panting, bruised. If we survive this way dinner? She blinked. What? I'm just saying, I like a girl who can fight. She gave him that same faint smile. Then you better live, human. And shoved him down the chute. Jax tumbled through darkness. Metal, walls, sparks, and then impact. He landed hard in a cold crate room, coughing. Lights flickered, sirens blared. But he was alive, and above him, she was still fighting. The cargo bay smelled of metal and fuel. Jax Mercer groaned as he pushed himself up from the cold floor. His ribs hurt. His face was cut, but he was alive. He looked up at the ceiling where the chute had sealed shut. Urella, please be okay. The silence that followed was worse than the alarms. Up on deck 3, the ship burned with chaos. Commander Urella stood in front of the weapons console, breathing hard. 2 soldiers were down. The rest circled her with fear in their eyes. But not one dared to strike. Then a voice echoed through the speakers. Stand down, Urella. The voice belonged to Vornak, her second in command, once her student, now her hunter. She raised her spear. You always wanted my seat, Vornak. Now you take it with lies? No lies, his voice replied. Just the truth. You betrayed your kind for a human. I protected the innocent. You shamed our name. A sudden jolt shook the ship. Emergency lights flared red. The engine slowed, then stopped. The ship was dead in space. Down in the cargo hold, Jax panicked. What the hell is going on? He pulled open a crate and found a small comms unit, old, cracked but working, static. Then her voice broke through. Jax, if you're hearing this, I failed. They've taken the bridge. I'm no longer commander. They're coming for you next. Don't let them find you. And Jax, I'm sorry I slapped you. A small laugh escaped him. You should have done it again. Suddenly, clank. The cargo doors opened. 5 armored guards marched in. No time to hide. Jax raised his fists, knowing it wouldn't help. But before they could grab him, boom. A loud blast echoed from the ceiling. Dust and sparks rained down. From the smoke, a shadow appeared. Urella, beaten, bruised, bleeding, but standing, holding a stolen plasma cannon. He's under my protection. The guards froze. You're no longer a commander, one said. She stepped forward. Then call me something else. She fired once. They ran. Urella dropped the cannon and nearly collapsed. Jax caught her. You're insane. Takes one to love one. He looked at her face, tired, covered in bruises, but still beautiful. You came back. I always come back. They hid in a lower deck maintenance room. Jax wrapped a cloth around her arm. Why do this? Why risk everything for me? She stared at him. Because when I looked at you, I remembered who I really was. Not the title, not the armor. Just a girl who once wanted to be more than a weapon. He touched her hand. You already are. Above them, Vornak gave a new order. Find them. Kill the human. Bring Urella in, alive. The trial will be public. The execution will be legend. But down below, Urella leaned against Jax and whispered, Then let them come. I have nothing left to lose. Jax smiled faintly. Wrong. You have me. The ship was broken, its engines cold, its halls filled with silence and fear. But in a dark corner near the vent shafts, Urela and Jax Mercer sat close, hidden in the shadows. One was a former warrior, the other, a prisoner who had become something more. Urela winced as Jax tied the last bandage around her arm. "You shouldn't have come back," she said quietly. "You had a chance to run." Jax looked her in the eyes. "I wasn't running. Not from you." She turned away, heart pounding. Her whole life had been about choices made for her. Orders followed, pain hidden, weakness erased. But now, everything had changed, because of him. Footsteps echoed overhead. Her enemies were hunting. The trial would come. Her people would cheer as she was shamed. And Jax? They'd break him just to prove a point. She stood slowly. "There's a maintenance pod near the fuel lines," she said. "Small, fast, but only fits two." Jax raised an eyebrow. "And you were just going to let me take it?" Urela shook her head. "I was going to send you." He stood too. "Not without you. They'll chase us. Everywhere. Then we'll run together. They'll mark me as a traitor. Then I'll love a traitor." She froze. "What did you just say?" "I said No." She stepped back. "You don't understand. I'm not made for this." "You don't have to be made for it," Jack said softly. "Just don't run from it." The lights flickered. An announcement boomed from the ship's speaker system. "Final warning. Commander Urela and human Jax Mercer, surrender now or be executed on sight. This is your last chance." Urela didn't move, but tears began to fill her eyes. "You gave me something I thought was gone." "What?" "A reason to choose." She took his hand. "Let's go." They ran, down narrow halls, through dark tunnels, past the screams and sirens, until they reached the launch bay. Inside, the tiny pod waited, its hatch still open. Urela entered first, powering the system. Coordinates set, remote cloak engaged. Jack slid in beside her. "Ready?" She didn't answer. She just leaned forward and kissed him. Quick, honest, strong. Then she smiled. "That's for calling my butt nice." Jax grinned. "Do it again and I'll say something worse." Whoosh! The pod launched, streaking into the stars. Behind them, the Valkyrie warship shrank into a silver dot, and with it, the life Urela had finally escaped. They didn't speak for a long time, just sat in silence, side by side. He watched the stars. She watched him. "I'm still dangerous," she whispered. "Still full of fire." "Good," Jax replied, smiling. "I've always liked fire." The stars outside the pod looked peaceful, nothing like the war they had just escaped. Inside the small cockpit, Jax Mercer and Urela sat side by side, flying through unknown space. No orders, no battles, no more lies. Just quiet. And the strange feeling that maybe, just maybe, they were finally free. Urela glanced at him. His eyes were closed. He was humming something, an old Earth tune. Off-key, terrible. She smirked. "Is that singing?" "It's called relaxing," Jax replied without opening his eyes. "You should try it sometime. Relaxing is for the weak. So is blushing, but you did that too." Her face tightened. But the violet tint returned. He saw it and laughed. "Caught you again." They drifted for hours. Eventually, Jax leaned forward and flicked a switch. "We're near an old trade station. Abandoned, probably, might be a place to hide." "No," Urela said softly. "We don't hide, not anymore." "Then what do we do?" She looked at him, not like a commander, not like a prisoner, but like a woman who had made her choice. "We live," Jax nodded slowly. "And what does a Valkyrie warrior do when she's not breaking skulls?" "She learns how to garden." "Garden? Or break skulls while gardening?" He laughed again. So did she. It was strange. Awkward. Beautiful. Later, they sat near the back of the pod, eating whatever the emergency rations had to offer. Jax bit into something chewy. Ugh. What is this? Alien protein gum? Urella took a bite and didn't flinch. Tastes like home. You really are scary. She leaned toward him. You have no idea. He paused. I have one more question. Speak. When this is all over, when we find a planet or build a new life, do I get to keep flirting with you? She blinked once, then nodded. Yes. Even if I call your butt nice again? If you do, she whispered, leaning closer, I'll break your nose. Deal. They clinked their ration bars together like wine glasses. Outside, stars glowed brighter. A new chapter waited beyond the galaxy. And inside that tiny escape pod, two very different hearts had finally found the same rhythm.